Edutainment. It's fundamental. Today on... Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Press B to Cancel. I am SicJake, and this week I'm joined with GP of TheRetroTherapy. How you doing, GP?
I am doing well. Excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're doing this duo today. The other two guys are off, I don't know, master blasting in their rooms alone or something.
Oh, wow.
That
took a turn. Yeah, no, not too far. Not too far enough, I say. I didn't know that's where you were going.
All right. But this week, we played a more wholesome game. That's right. We're going to talk about Oregon Trail, which is, when I was thinking about this week, Oregon Trail is probably one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, not top 10, but I think top 50. This is a game that really stuck with me as a kid. So what's your experience with Oregon Trail, GP? Like, when did you first play it? Was it a school thing or a home thing?
It was my aunt's house thing. I was born in 84. We didn't get the internet till the late 90s, but I had an aunt who had like I don't even know what kind of computer she had. It was just the one with the giant floppy disk. She had, Oregon Trail. She had Number Munchers. She had like Family Feud. And so whenever we went over to her house to swim and hang out or whatever during the summer, Oregon Trail was just always there. That was like one thing I always looked forward to, was her high-tech computer and the Oregon Trail.
Okay. Yeah, so it was on a few different computers back then. So the funny thing is, I think we're talking about the one from 1984, which is made by MECC, and that was the graphical Oregon Trail. It's actually, there was a game before that in the 70s. 1971, a gentleman made the text-adventure version of Oregon Trail, which I did not know until this week when I was doing my looking into it. A text adventure.
I did not know.
In the 70s. And it was actually incredibly popular to the point that students would line up outside the school after school to get their turn to play this game that this dude made. Which I think is crazy. Anyway, it became popular enough that a few years later, the organization, I want to call them company, but I think they're just an organization, the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium, the MECC, basically worked with these folks to make the text adventure game, and they ended up putting on their education network so that schools across Minnesota could play this game, this text adventure, which is mind-blowing to me. But then later on in 85, they wanted to create a graphical version of this game because the text adventure was so popular. So they got a new team together. Philip Brochard, I think, is the main guy who is the lead designer, and they remade Oregon Trail into a graphical adventure. And there's been ports on DOS. There's a Commodore 64 version. I played at a friend's place. But the original one that I played most was on the Apple II. The elementary school that I used to go to. I was born in 81. So when I was old enough, we had a computer lab in my school, and it was all Apple IIs. That's the only computers I ever knew until I was 18. And I also played Number Munchers. I love Number Munchers, also made by MECC.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like Where in Time is Carmen San Diego, Number Munchers, and then Oregon Trail. And I used to love it because you would start a game of Oregon Trail, and I want to say classes were like 35 or 40 minutes. So it was always a race to see who in the class could get to the end and actually get to Oregon, because you had to work it. Otherwise, if you took too long, class is over and you didn't finish the game. So I remember that race to the end of Oregon Trail.
So that was the genesis of your speed running.
It's true.
Was Oregon Trail. Okay.
It's like pace, grueling. Rations, meager.
Right. We're going to get there fast, and nobody's going to weigh more than 80 pounds.
It's great because so I've been trying to get my kids to play some of the games I used to, make them suffer through it. Right. And they love Mario. But since I got the Mister has an Apple II core on it, which is great because every time I tried getting these games to work on PC with DOSBox, it never worked for me. But they work on the Mister great. So I had them play Oregon Trail. And my oldest, she's smarter than I thought when it comes to games, man, because she learned early on, if you're player one, if you're the first person to make the wagon and name the people, you never die. But all the family members can die. So, of course, she wants to be the wagon leader, and her sister's number two. And then the pets and me and my wife are the other ones to fill the family. And we always end up dead. Because when she's on the trail, I'm like, do you want to go fast or you want to go slow? And she's like, I want to go fast. Do you want to eat meager rations or, full meals? No, meager rations. To see how fast she can get her sister to die from a snake bite or typhoid. You can tell my daughters fight a lot. Her sister.
Right.
But it's hilarious. She learned really quickly that the relationship of not eating enough and constant exercise will kill you. You got to have a balance. Already educational.
And there is something that's kind of like identifiable with that, like, oh, your sister died from dysentery, and you're like, yeah, she fucking did. She knows what she did. Serves her right, trifling ass.
Well, it used to be great because she'll put her one of her cats is her favorite. It's totally her cat. His name is Baby Jack. So she puts Baby Jack down as one of the family members, and whenever he would get snake bite or dysentery, she'd always be so sad and upset. As soon as her sister got a broken leg, oh, that's okay. Keep going. It's all right.
Right.
Do you want to stop and rest? No. Oh, Baby Jack. Oh, broken leg. I want to stop for a week. I'm like, okay, honey. Okay.
You know what they should do? I'm sorry, this just popped in my head, and I don't want to let it go. They should do a ROM hack. Yes, a ROM hack, but for Cthulhu cultists. Okay, so follow me on this. You're trying to get to Oregon, which is how we say it down here in the lower 48. And let's say you're trying to ford a river. So before you even try, the first thing you do is sacrifice one of your oxen. Right? And you have to try to summon one of the elder ones to come and help you ford, the Green River.
Ford this river. You get halfway across. Uh-oh. Deep One awakens. The world is dead.
Right. Well, technically you survived, but Oregon no longer exists. So what are you going to do? Typhoid's the least of your worries. That's how they brand that.
That's, Cthulhu's trail. That's
oh my God.
Cthulhu's entrails.
Oh my God, yes. There's no downside.
So there is a spin-off that somebody made, like a parody game called, is it Oregon Trail? And it's you're trying to escape the zombie horde, and you're in a Toyota Camry or something. I can't remember the name of the car, but it's in the same graphical style, although a little bit better, as Oregon Trail, and it's escaping zombies. I have to play that. I only played a little bit of it, and it was pretty funny.
I don't know. How do I understand? Okay, do you know anybody out there listening? If you know AJ the Retro Gamer from Twitch?
Oh, yeah. I've watched her a bunch of times. She's great.
She loves playing Oregon Trail, and I love her, and I love watching her. I get a little upset when she doesn't play the right version. The classic everything in the background has to be black with a little sliver of color, so it's a field or mountains or whatever's coming up.
Right.
But any graphical version that is different from the MECC one, I have such a short, attention span for. I think, at the top of the episode you were saying how this would be in your top 50 games. I've never framed it that way. I would agree, maybe even top 30. Definitely in the top 30 most played in my lifetime.
Right.
But it's got to be the right version. If it's not the right version, if I don't have the nostalgia for it, I really just don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's the same with me. There's the one my friend had on his Commodore 64. It's not the same. It's just not. The one I like on the Apple II is when you go hunting, you're this really terrible looking pixel guy. Moving's a pain in the ass. And you shoot that one fucking buffalo, and even though it says 400 pounds, you're screwed. You can only take 100 back. Right? I love that. Whereas the Commodore 64 version, it's the gun is in the bottom of the screen, and you're shooting up only. It's a weird perspective, and it does not feel the same.
Right. Yeah, no thank you. That's what I say.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you have the world's slowest bullets.
I know.
They fly true, but they fly slow. But I remember thinking how advanced the whole hunting thing was, because with the version that we like, you could move around in the 360 degrees, but the squirrels were super fast. The bison were slow. So it's like, oh my God, they have stats. You know what I mean?
The worst part, though, is with the squirrels and the rabbits, because my kids would be like, daddy, because they would make me do the shooting, right? Like, go shoot the squirrel, shoot the squirrel. I'm like, all right. I'd spend 50 bullets doing it. And they're like, how much food we get? You got a pound. You just got a meal.
And half of that is the 40 bullets that you pumped into the thing.
Yeah, and it's pretty much that's your iron for the day.
Did you ever disrespect the carcass? We used to do that all the time. I'd shoot a bison because it's not a real bison, and none of this really matters. But I'd just go up to him point blank and just unload.
Just wasting that ammo.
Because I was 7, and I just liked shooting things in video games.
Just having flashbacks to my uncle's wedding.
Oh my God, what?
It's a joke.
That's very Game of Thrones. I'm impressed.
Yeah, the hunting minigame in that was fantastic. And then there's more gameplay in that than you think, right? The simulation aspect of it, sure, and that's great. But the choices you make at fording the rivers, and at the end of the game, toward the end, well, there's several points where you have the option of choosing a path, right? Do you want to go to another town for supplies, or do you want to take a shortcut? And then there's a second one later on where it's like, do you want to go the slower way but safer on the trail, or do you want to risk it all, slap your wagon on a raft, and just arcade mode it down a river?
Arcade mode.
And like, again, going back to the speed running in class at the time, you had to do the river. If you tried going the trail, you never finished in time. So you would be shotgunning down that river. And if you're one of the few kids who did it before, you knew what the controls were. Otherwise, it's your first time, freaking blind, and you die. I think every time you hit a rock, somebody instantly dies off your wagon or something stupid like that. It's like, nick a rock. Oh, Baby Jack's dead. Put the side of the bank. Oh, so-and-so's dead. Like, well, there we go. It's okay. We'll make it. And then you get a score at the end of it, which is like a high score. Like that game having a high score element to me, it just feels weird.
Yeah, like, first off, you survived with your wife. 5,000 bonus points for your wife. Like, wait, hold on a second. This feels very cheap to me now. She's at least we're 7. But yeah, no, I guess I don't remember the points so much, but I think it was because largely we failed more campaigns than we completed.
Oh, for sure.
By far, yeah. And
it was a point thing came down to it's a class system, right? Because at the beginning of the game, you pick a class: carpenter, carpenter, banker, and something else. And the one that starts with the least resources actually has a point multiplier, I think is what it was, at the end of the game. So, I mean, most of the time we just pick banker because you get the money, right? Just buy everything. How much food you want? All of it. How many wagon tongues do you want? Just load me up.
Did you ever, when you were a kid, what names did you use? That we can talk about.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of dirty words because I was like 7.
Yeah.
Boobs and dick, fart, probably. all the classics. Whatever, because when we used to do computer lab, right? I mean, there's like 35 kids in a class and one teacher. And it was computer class. So the teacher would literally make sure everybody plugs in a disk and is ready to go. And then he would sit at his desk with a newspaper for the entire half hour. He wouldn't do nothing else. He was saying nothing, do nothing. As long as we were quiet, playing the stupid game of the week, he was fine, right? But every so often, you can tell he was in shit with the principal because he'd be doing his walkarounds to look like he's doing something. And then he would look at what people are doing. But for the most part, he was fine. So he wasn't paying attention. Totally dick and fart jokes all the way.
We did the same thing. A lot of them were kind of inside jokes about attributes from other family members. I guess we could say it that way. So we would, come up with a name and then basically try to say like, oh, who is that? And then, some of it, because it couldn't be too on the nose because you didn't want to directly piss off everybody. But, between two people, they'd get a kick out of it. And usually you figured out, okay, because it'd be like me and my brother and then a couple of our cousins huddled around the computer. So basically, if you weren't the one laughing, it was probably you. You know what I mean? Like why is this guy's name funny? Who's Sir coughs a lot? Oh, damn it. That's me. So yeah, that was where I learned my deductive reasoning. Is where I'm going with all that. They say like 1 in 3 people is ugly. Look to your left, look to your right. If both those people are attractive, you're the ugly one. That's kind of how it was with me in Oregon Trail. So a lot of damaged emotions. But along the same lines with the name thing, I remember laughing and like getting a kick out of a lot of the names of the locations as you're traveling, because as you mentioned, it's edutainment, and so you see things like the Kansas River. Well, I live in Kansas, so I'm like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, Kansas River, that's not too far from here. Big Blue River, okay, cool. Fort Kearney, all right, that's weird. Chimney Rock, that's dope. It looks like a chimney. And then it's like Green River. Who the fuck would want to swim in a Green River? Soda Springs, hell yeah. And then you get to Fort Walla Walla, and I remember thinking, okay, they jumped the shark. There's no way there's a Fort Walla Walla. That sounds like the most Americanized Monty Python place I can think of. And no, it turns out there's absolutely a Fort Walla Walla.
Yeah, I got to say, that's one of my most favorite things to do. My wife and I, before we had kids, we used to we drive down to Florida all the time, right? And it's, for us, is a 3-day drive. And the entertainment we got was reading the location signs. And there's a few places we used to see that. We used to just die laughing. Maybe it was the sleep depth, because we wouldn't stop. Just driving for 27 hours. But like the one that used to get me was Stinking Creek Road. I can't remember what state it's in. And I just love that. What explorer blazing a trail comes across a road and a river that stinks so much, that's what he names it. Like I love it.
Right. What that reminds me of is where I grew up is Dodge City, Kansas. No, that's not a stinky name, but because of all the cattle, the slaughterhouses out there, the beef processing plants, they used to tell people, who were coming from like the east, you'll know you're in Dodge City when you head west till you smell it, and then south until you step in it, and that's when you're in Dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. Oh yeah, the old Stinky Creek. I remember that. Originally we called it the fuck is that smell river, but it was too big to put on the sign, so Stinky Creek it is.
Yeah, we had evolved the name over time.
What the fuck is that river? Or the fuck is that smell river? I love that. I'll have to look that up and see where Stinky Creek is.
Well, the joke is, I bet you there's more than one. There's got to be, right?
Lots of stinks. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so names were always important. Let's talk about the deaths. How many different ways were there to die? Was there a million ways to die?
There's definitely a few, right? So dysentery, typhoid. I don't know if you can die of measles. Can you die of measles?
I think you can absolutely. It's Oregon Trail. You can die of anything. If you can barely nick a rock and that kills you somehow, yes, you can die of measles. So dysentery is just the shits, right?
Yeah, that's just diarrhea.
Okay, horrible.
Because that leads to dehydration, right?
Yeah, sure.
There's no Gatorade on the trail.
Right?
Yeah, I'll take 2 wagon wheels and a wagon tongue, 3 oxen, and a case of blueberry blast. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I know 0 of the Gatorade flavors. I know the colors.
I'm just making it up. Hopefully there is a blueberry blast. There is a blue one. I know that. Blue's a flavor.
Yeah. Thank you. It's like Kool-Aid. Yes, I understand there's grape and there's cherry, but then whatever the blue is, it's the most refreshing shit I've ever had.
Oh yeah, the only tangents, but the only blue Kool-Aid I know is from when I was a kid in the 80s, and it was lemonade.
Blue lemonade?
Yeah,
Okay.
It was dope. It was the best flavor. It's the only Kool-Aid I ever wanted as a kid, and they don't make it anymore. I'm sure they have a yellow lemonade, but that's not the same. It's not blue.
No.
It needs to be blue lemonade.
There's a restaurant over on the east side here in Wichita, and every now and then, in the days before COVID, my wife and I would go out there, and they have well, actually, that's exactly what it is. It's a lemonade, but it's that light blue color, and I swear it's made from the blue Kool-Aid packets. So next time we go out there, I will take a picture, and that's like my go-to drink. I will go out there just for that drink. But interesting.
Well, as an adult, it's funny. My favorite alcohol, like I don't drink much at all anymore. But if I do, I get the bottle of Hypnotic from the liquor store. I don't know if you ever had that. It's expensive. but it's basically a blue liqueur, and it's got like a citrus flavor to it, and it reminds me of that fucking Kool-Aid. It's totally different, but it's blue and it tastes like lemons. I love it.
I do love our tangents.
Yeah.
So typhoid. Typhoid was a big thing back then, right? You could die from typhoid?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, kind of tangentially, but very much still on topic, I have cystic fibrosis, and it is thought that cystic fibrosis evolved, hundreds of years ago as a way to fight typhoid because people with CF cannot get typhoid.
Wow, evolution really fucked that one up.
Right, yeah, because basically back then you weren't going to live past 4 years old anyways.
Right.
But typhoid be damned, you're not getting me. So whenever we would play and my character would die from typhoid, I'd be like, shit's rigged. I know it's stupid, but I'm like, wrong. Hit reset. This is not, where's my game genie? I did not die from typhoid. But it was kind of novel because I knew it would never.
Instead of banker, you should take CF. That's the class you want.
You get just outside of town, you have died from natural causes. Oh, damn it.
Jeez. Oh.
I know, it's funnier than it should be, and there's probably people out there rolling their eyes or like, this is shameful, but fuck it. I find this stuff to be very funny.
Well, Oregon Trail, though, it's a dark, dark game. Like, literally, whether it's my own kids, who even they know, you put your friends and family into the game, and they're going to die, and you're doing it because you secretly are laughing at it. Even in school, you're making all these jokes. It's death is a part of Oregon Trail, and it's you can't help but laugh at it.
Well, and it reminds me of the conversation from a previous episode where Pulse was talking about he quit renaming people in RPGs after his friends because he had done that with like his best friend in was it Legend of Dragoon, and the guy died, and he took that pretty hard, so he's like, fuck it, I can't do this anymore. So I'm like, I remember biting my tongue and thinking, player, have you ever tried Oregon Trail? Because that's literally the entire game.
That's the game. Had I known as a kid, I would have been putting names like Hitler and Pol Pot. Just put those in there. That's what I should have been doing.
Right.
Getting some internet justice.
Yeah. Well, you have to be petty about that now, because that's funny. It's I'm sorry, but there's a million things I want to say, but I won't because I don't think of the right way to say them. But yes, naming a character is going to die Hitler is always funny.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but death is also the other funny thing I love about this game. I love the death is the tombstones, right? So when you're playing the game and you die, you get to name a tombstone, and it saves on the disc as floppies. Mm. So the next person who gets that disc, they can come across and look at your tombstone. So you would always find the most wildly inappropriate name to put on there because nobody's going to know it was you because there's 30 discs in the class, and who knows who's going to get that wonderful swear word lottery of tombstones. I used to think it's great.
Right, until you have like a sibling who put your name like Jake is dumb, and then you're playing, you're like, oh damn it,
just like I knew it.
Plot twist. Plot twist. It was my dad. I'm like, wait a second.
Well, that's the thing too with these games is that these games schools don't have a lot of money generally, right? So the computer lab that we had at our school lasted a decade, I want to say. So you could have a situation where a younger sibling or something played it originally, bashed their parents, and the older sibling would play that same copy of the game later on.
Right.
It's like a history.
So it's multiple layers of education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so some approved and some very much not.
How much education do you think is in this title? Because I look at other games like Number Munchers. To be honest, I think I learned shit about Number Munchers because I only ever played it on the modes that I knew how to do. I never did division. I always did the plus and minus. Where's in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I got a little bit from that. But again, a lot of times it's just stuff I knew anyway. I never opened the book to look up stuff. But Oregon Trail, I think there's some education value there.
There's some, but I think it's less book smarts and more like conceptual. For example, obviously there's the geography part of it, but that's not really super important. Like I couldn't tell you where Snake River is.
Right.
But you could look at the screen and it could give you the date, and you could see like how many miles you've traveled and how far it is to the next landmark. Which, silly though it may be, you can still get in your car, drive from somewhere to somewhere, and you kind of have an idea of what that is. I think that was really my first exposure to understanding distance traveling. That might sound weird, but now that I'm examining it, that's kind of how I feel. Also, you being Canadian, did you guys have miles traveled or did you have kilometers traversed? Like, what did you guys have?
Right. So it would have been miles because we had the same games that you guys did, and there was no Canadian equivalent to Oregon Trail. If there was, it'd probably be Huskies across the Arctic tundra or something. And it'd be a totally different game. Jake died of his frostbite.
We haven't even left town yet.
That's right. How many parkas you want?
Parkas and toques.
No, it was all miles, and that was always a problem for me as a kid. All the American media and games and stuff was miles, and they tried teaching us about meters, and two and two together was very difficult. And like even now today, my generation uses both a lot of the time. It's better for my kids. They're taught right from the get-go. They don't even know inches. It's all centimeters, meters, kilometers. But for my childhood, it was a lot of miles mixed in there. But you're right. Like when you look at the map, and then the traveling, and then for me it was the ticking down of food, right, as a metric of the days ticking by, and how you set your rations and your pace. A lot of that kind of related to me as a kid to kind of balance things out, and it made a lot of sense. It's interesting, and things like learning to pack spare supplies, right? Like pack an extra wagon wheel. Yes, it's going to cost you, but food gets more expensive from town to town. So you're going to want to put money towards supplies now because you're not going to afford it later on. And stuff breaks. Learning that stuff breaks in that game, I think, was huge. So you're right. There's some like critical, or just some like thinking skill build up in that game. Not necessarily geography, I agree, but there's other value there for education.
Right. Yeah, because outside of that, it's just a bunch of, okay, that's the thing that we know exists. Like, the Blue Mountains or like I said, Fort Hall. Okay, cool. Yeah, couldn't point to it on a map if it wasn't already labeled. But I know a little bit more now about forecasting, and preparation. So, yeah, I'm going to stand by that. I think a lot of it is conceptual and all the stuff you're saying. God, I really want to play this. Did you know there's a card game version of this now?
Oh, is there really?
Or it's like it's a board game. I bought it for my cousin Trevor for his birthday, I think like 3 years ago. And it was for him, but it was also kind of basically for me because we had talked about how cool it would be. So it's been 3 years since we've played it, but it was fun. And essentially, it's the story of the Oregon Trail. You're trying to go from point A to point B, and then all sorts of bad things can happen. But then they also give you like a little placard that is a picture of the tombstone. So when one of your characters die, and they always do, you can write down what their epitaph on their tombstone was. And it's only gotten raunchier as I've gotten older.
I've never heard of this. Is it like an official or is it like a parody version?
No, it's official. It's got all the hallmarks of the classic MECC version, like the same graphics, same things. I think there may be one or two small additions, but it's got all the classic hallmarks of, fording rivers, hunting. I think there's hunting in there. Your wagon might catch fire, snake bites, typhoid, like I said, all the classics. But it's, I'll have to play that again and we can talk about it. But that was cool. And I mean, it smacks of the nostalgia because all of the cards graphically match up 1-to-1 with the game.
There's definitely a generation that knows this game. And that's why I say it's in my top games ever list, because it feels like, especially in my area, every kid in my age bracket played this game for that decade. Yeah. It's just a game that was in every school. It was such a solid educational title. And like, there's tons of games we used to play in the computer lab, and but there's only 3 that really stood out. It was this, Carmen Sandiego, and Number Munchers. Mm-hmm. All the rest of the stuff that was created for education was terrible. Like it's very difficult to do an educational game that's fun.
Right. I'm gonna have to see if I can find a way to download this or play it. But again, I think about like, oh, maybe I can put it on my phone, download it on my phone from like the App Store. But I'm like, I guarantee you there's none with the same graphics.
No.
And if it doesn't have it, I'm not interested.
Yeah, there was definitely a release port, an updated version for iOS, I'm pretty sure. And then the one that's most commonly playable now, you'll see, is a more graphical, updated one for Windows. The one that we're playing, the Apple II version, originally I played it on archive.org, has a shit ton of old computer games on their site you can play in the browser. And it's great for most everything. But the problem with this game is because there's multiple discs, I couldn't find a way to work it out. So if anybody who's listening to this and has a way to do it, I'd love to have that posted for people because this game is great to play. The only way I play it now is on my Mister because it emulates an Apple II.
Yeah, as I've got it pulled up, I see what you were saying also about Oregon Trail.
Yeah, it's on Steam.
That's hilarious. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, it looks like everything's just kind of updated graphics that I'm not going to care about. So
yeah, there's something about the look of the Apple II screen that is just very nostalgic for me. It's bad, but it's great.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I understand. Yeah, you can say it's bad, but it's so incredibly efficient. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just looking at it because I've got a picture of it pulled up. Just kind of the basic traveling screen. There's not a lot of frills, but you can tell exactly what it is. And when you're moving, the places you're moving to in the background change and come forward or get bigger as you get closer. You can see the oxen's legs moving and the wheels turning. I don't know. There's not a lot to it, but what it needed to convey, it did so perfectly. If they had taken away anything else, it would have sucked. If they added anything else, as we've talked about, it would seem unnecessary. So it's kind of a shame that my taste for this game is so specific because that's going to prevent me from really ever playing it again.
Well, it's neat because the seasons do change the color of the backgrounds a bit and stuff. That's a factor. And the scenes that always got me and that are really key to me is when you hit a landmark or a town and like, would you like to look around? Yeah, because you get that whole screen graphic of the location.
That's
and then you have the music, right? It's whatever copyright-free music they use. And they're great. And it's all like folk tunes or whatever. And I love those. And that's what stands out to me. And if it doesn't have that exact music in that MIDI style or whatever the hell it is, I don't want to play it.
Oh, man. Now, this has just been my train of thought for the past 2 weeks. Because I've been playing the Ultima ROM hack of Final Fantasy IV. I've just been thinking of different ways to ROM hack different games. And now I want a ROM hack of Oregon Trail that whenever you go somewhere and it says, do you want to look around? It replaces it with like a screenshot from a different like NES game or newer. So like in my head, I just see like the winner's podium from like Excite Bike. And you just hear the music. And I don't know why, but that's funny to me. And it would be great also to get something from Mega Man in there. It's just like Wily's Castle instead of like Fort Bridger or whatever the hell. That would be great. Oh, man, why am I not? I don't know how to do ROM hacks.
So on the Retro Trail, instead of typhoid and dysentery, it's things like hit turbo tunnel, died of battle
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Died of impact trauma.
Hit a spike, Mega Man's dead.
Right. Yeah, right. That's perfect. And then, like, toward the end, encountered dragon, automatic death. Or, yeah.
There's got to be hacks of this game. No,
there's got to be. I'll look into it. I don't know, but I've got the. Oh shit, that's the wrong way of saying that. I was about to say I got the fever. I have to play this game now. I got the Oregon Trail fever.
Well, as long as you rest for 3 days, you'd be okay with that fever.
That's right.
Yeah, what a great game.
No, this is a classic, and I've been thinking about it pretty much since you said it. I agree. This has to be in my top 50. Definitely in my top 50 most played game of all time. Yeah, it's classic. And yeah, I agree about introducing it to your kids. My kids are old enough, my daughter especially, she can read very well now. I think for a punishment, like next time she does something bad, I'm like, put down your tablet, we're playing Oregon Trail.
That's what
she'd be like, why?
Put away that ebook. Forget it.
This is what road trips used to be. Next time we take her down somewhere like on a road trip, I'm like, well, before you do, you need to appreciate what you have.
Well, I joke with my kids. Well, they don't know it's a joke. Like, I grew up very poor, so I used to always joke. I said this before on the podcast. I used to tell them, it's like, well, you're lucky you have chicken for dinner. When I was a kid, I was eating shoes. We had nothing. We had nothing, just meager meat. That's all we had. And she never understood what meager meant, and now she does. So, like, when she plays, she can, like, point out, like, did they have this as much food as you had as a kid? I'm like, yeah, that's right, honey.
Oh.
We had no food. It was grueling.
Like she thought it was like a cut of like steak, like meager. I'll have the meager slice, please. Here's 50 cents for my meager steak.
It's great. Life lessons.
Right. That's what they should name squirrel meat. Is
meager
is
meat.
meager. Yeah.
You get your fillet of your meager fillet. I can see that.
Your meager fillet. So let's talk percentages. What would you imagine would be your completion rate for this game as a kid?
Oh, as a kid, the time was such a huge thing. Like maybe 20%, maybe. And it was never one person playing. We were always buddied up with a few people. So like you're trying to make decisions as a group, which good luck with a bunch of 7, 8-year-olds about what you want to do. I want to look around. No, we have no time. I want to look around. And then it plays a little ditty. And you're like, oh, it's wasting us time. And like even then, when you got to the end, that stupid river section, I've played it recently, and it's not that hard. It's not. But back then, I swear, every time we got to that point, we were always hitting the rocks and knocking people out in the water and dying. And I think we died more than a few times before we even got to Oregon. And that was the most disappointing because you're right there. You have like 30 seconds to the end of class, and you're almost there, and you die. You get nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. Okay, if they ever do the Cthulhu thing, can we have a boss rush at the end? I'm almost there. Oh man, I gotta fight the robot masters again. This sucks. And I gotta ford the river?
It's so good. It's just amazing that this is a game that was made 85, right? Like I was playing Mario at home, and that's a great game. Mm-hmm. But like the thought that goes behind making a game like Oregon Trail, and educational stuff too. Like they did their research on various things, but they put gameplay in there that's really solid. It's a really solid game.
Yeah. I agree. I do want to go back to play it just to see how long it actually takes. Because honestly, I think my completion rate as a kid was maybe 5%. Like 1 out of every 20 games, we would make it all the way. But I don't know how seriously we ever really took it. Right. I think it was mostly just to type in the names and try out different things. But so in my head, I'm like, this is a solid like 20 to 30 minute game. And the truth is, it's probably 8 to 12.
Yeah, it really came down to setting the pace of movement and the rations, and then stopping the rest. I think is a big factor when somebody was ill. Like if somebody had one ailment, it was one thing. But if they had two, they're gonna die unless you stop. I think that's what it was when I was playing with my kids. So once you learn that and you slow down a bit, the game is not so bad. But as a kid, you're not reading menus half the time. You're just like, when can I hunt? When can I just power through the next town, right? You're not stopping to make those decisions to make the game easier.
Well, and going off the screen I'm looking at, this took place in 1848. So I'm wondering if that's a leap year. I know, stupid stuff I think about. But I want to see if they actually put in February 29th. Because, they always put the date at the top of your, like the bottom half of the screen. There's the date, the weather, your overall health, and then, like, your pounds of food, how far to the next place, and how far you've gone. So I want to see if they were accurate with their calendar.
They have to be, right? Like they can't be a February 30th in there or something.
Right. Well, I mean, if they thought to put in a lot of the other stuff they put in, surely they would know. Yeah. Oh, shit, that's a leap year. Let's get that.
Yeah, I'm wondering how deep they go. Because like games like these, I mean, games back then had such small teams, and like I have the credits up here now. It's a lead designer, one programmer, one artist, and they had one person on research. Oh, they had 2 people on programming. So 2 people made the game with a few people on research and art. Like, it's not a big team of people to kind of catch all that kind of detail. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Again, if I can find the right version, I'll give it a play. And if I can stream it, I'll absolutely do that because I think there's a lot of fun to be had in playing with a large group. But
well, I love it because Gino Guerin, he's part of Retro Block Party. He's done it on their charity streams every so often, and I I can't help but watch. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great stream game.
Does he play the green and black MECC version or one of the updated ones?
I want to say he's playing the other one. I have to double check now. I just remember he could just take the names from the community to play and power through it, and it's great.
Yeah. So, well, if nothing else, we should encourage people to check out Gino Guerin and AJ the Retro Gamer. Both those people, solid content creators, and obviously with the Oregon Trail connection.
Yeah, like when we look back and we play retro games, and we look at like Mario and stuff, that's fine. But there's a whole wave of nostalgia I've been getting with old computer games, especially ones that I played when I was in school, and it's I never thought I'd be like waxing nostalgia with you about Oregon Trail and like Number Munchers and crap. It's pretty funny.
You know what it reminds me of? Because, all right, so you could say Mario, and like everybody in our generation and all the generations since are like, fuck yeah, Mario. We all grew up with that. We all know it. We all love it. It's mainstream. And then, you could say like Oregon Trail, and everybody our generation is still like, oh yeah, that's great. I know about that. I thought I was like the biggest fan of that. What it reminds me of is Rush, the band. Everybody knows Rush, but every Rush fan feels like they're the like closeted biggest fan of all time of Rush. Like that's their secret band that they adore and worship. I think Oregon Trail is kind of that way too. Or if you wear an Oregon Trail shirt, everybody about our age is be like, yes, I was the biggest fan of that. But everybody will feel that same way.
Yeah, nobody talks about it, but everybody's played it. Yeah, it's a whole other game now. It's been appropriated by other crap. It's crazy. It's funny too, because like my wife is 5 years younger than me, so she never played Oregon Trail and stuff. At her school, they had Windows computers, so the games that she remembers the most as a kid, because she also had a PC at home too, is things like I don't even know if I've never played them. Treasure Cove and I think Math Blaster was another one. Those are the games that she remembers playing. She has no nostalgia whatsoever for Oregon Trail or Number Munchers. Like I was playing with the kids, and she's like, "What the hell is this crap?" It's like, I'm like, this is great. Treasure Cove. She's on my ass to get Treasure Cove. Well, she's been asking me since we started dating to find a copy of Treasure Cove and all the other games she used to play, and I can't find them anywhere. And I want to say they're CD-ROM games, and I just can't find them.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I have to look into. I don't even care. I'm not going to look into those. I care that she cares. I just mean like. Nothing's going to replace Oregon Trail or Number Munchers for completely different reasons. I love both those games. But it's a pity. It was such a cool thing. And, you're right. We would play that in school. But even outside of school, that was a game that was worth playing. And I think that's special.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a solid talk.
Yeah, I agree.
You'd have somebody listen to this episode. I've seen the metrics. You're all between the ages of 25 and 45. You've probably played this game. But if you're like my wife and you lived in a cave or something, or went to Montessori, you should go check out Oregon Trail. You can play the first little bit of it on archive.org for free. Totally legit. Or if you find another way to play it, let GP know, because it's a game worth playing.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you for this. This is a fun time.
Yeah. GP, tell people what you're doing, where they can find you.
Well, if you want to come watch me stream, I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheRetroTherapy. Otherwise, you can find The Retro Therapy on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We got some really fun YouTube content. Outside of that, I'm really just here with you, bros, on Press B to Cancel.
Right, and I'm SicJake. You can find me not so much on Twitch lately. I've been in the middle of moving, which is hell. But I'm on Twitter every day, like an addict. And I've also been doing some YouTube stuff, some videos about putting together Mister. And I recently got an arcade stick I'm putting together, so check for my spams on Twitter. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode of Press B to Cancel. If you like this episode, please tell your friends. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. We're everywhere, from Twitter to the YouTube, Stitcher, Podchaser, Apple, and Google. And if there's anywhere else we're missing, feel free to let us know. Thank you. Have a great night.
Special thanks for music go to Arthur the Last Ancient on Spotify or The Last Ancient on Bandcamp. For more episodes, please visit our website at pressb2cancel.com. As well, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe at Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, or anywhere else you'd like to listen to your favorite shows. As always, thank you. This has been
Press B to cancel.
President